The World Championship continues here at the Verdi Music Hall, where the tradition of Groups Weeks 2 continues to deliver unexpected results. Yesterday, LCK's Griffin ran the gauntlet to earn themselves a #1 seed. We'll see if any of the teams competing today sustain as dominant of a performance is in what was deemed the group of death well before the tournament started. I'm Shax, joined here for this jam-packed day with Raz, Spawn, and Frosk. We always get a lot of craziness, and we also have quite a crazy desk, since this is an OG LPL caster lineup.
Certainly is. Back when we used to be in Sydney, in the bunker studio doing the LPL.
God. This is like
the
memories. So much worse than a high school reunion.
What I think is cool is that even though some of you may have moved on to different regions, there is still a strong LPL allegiance as well. We'll see if they turn up big on the day. However, yesterday we saw an amazing turnaround from Griffin as they went 4-0 to secure first seed from Group A.
And I think it was about identifying the winning formula for Griffin. This was the Griffin that we've been waiting to see, that spring LCK domestic season where Tarzan just needs to focus on how he plugs into such talented mechanical players like Chovy.
Yeah, and Lehens. I feel like they were always setting up for plays and catching G2 off guard. This was a great performance in Griffin that you can believe in.
And the worry for Griffin was never the ceiling. It was how they would perform under pressure. And I'm so proud of the young lineup being able to come in to what was probably their most pressure-filled day and coming out on top.
Absolutely, pressure behind the scenes as well as on the results from the first week, but they finally showed their potential. And now, are we ready to call them a title contender, panel?
I mean, I think we always knew that Griffin was a dark horse of this tournament, but it's that dirty word that you brought up, the potential, the ceiling, the possibilities for Griffin. But we said it at the beginning of the tournament, just because this team keeps getting knocked down by SKT doesn't mean that they can't wrestle with the best of them, and they took down G2.
And they have the greatest point of growth. If you look at the screen right now, SKT, RNG, IG, Damwon, I actually think that there are so many title contenders that prove that they can grow going into the knockout stage.
And hell, IG's inability to beat RNG last year didn't stop them winning a world title. If they get the right run, it could certainly be a similar case.
All fun and games for Griffin yesterday. Of course, on the receiving end at the end of the day was G2 Esports, who up until then was very much dubbed a title contender. What do we make of this now? And how do we look at the rest of their chances going forward?
So here's the gut check. Yes, you want to hype up Griffin. Yes, it was incredible. And yes, you did see some big holes from G2, but I'm not ready to completely sell them down the river. I see a lot of things blowing up on social media, but the fact of the matter is that the tournament format means that if you have one bad day, you're in second seed. I want to separate Western team from second seed because it feels like this dirty word. This is a 2016 situation where suddenly SKT fumbled in groups. It's RNG, SKT. You see them clash, and people are terrified of this second seed pool. Like, this is terrifying. The other first seeds are like, crap, G2 can now face us in a quarterfinal.
Yes, and we already know what G2's ceiling is. We already know the talent that they have as players, and also we already got a sneak peek just yesterday of what champion pools that they're willing to throw in. So in a best of 5, I think it'll get better.
Yeah, so what you're saying is you're giving them the benefit of the doubt, because you could also look at it the other way and say, well, maybe it turns out that they're a step below the teams that are stronger, like a Griffin, a possible SKT, or an RNG. Do you think they deserve that benefit of the doubt?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that Grabs hit the nail on the head. They had 4 bad games yesterday, and it took a great team in Griffin to punish 2 of them. This is a team that normally has very good mechanics, fundamentals, ability to play the map, and fluidity. Yesterday, we didn't see those things come to the forefront, I think, in any of those games. And I think that the great news for G2 fans is the camp still looks positive, the players are still coming out with a great attitude, and that's always been their biggest strength. Worlds is a long tournament. It goes for over a month now. They're going to have to play well throughout the whole thing if they want to win it, which is ultimately the goal.
Yeah, and I have to say I was kind of myself on the kind of bandwagon of, oh no, now you're second seed, it's all lost, but gotta shut it off. Then I thought back to Worlds 2018, where a different G2 did something impossible in a quarterfinal, and many teams did impossible things up until this point. We gotta keep believing, but I think it's a dent in their confidence.
And the thing is that MSI, they still had to go through SKT. They still weren't first seed coming out of that group stage, so it's not like they haven't even done it this year. This is a team that has always battled against the odds.
We'll see how they recover and if they recover in quarterfinals, but yesterday, Lore did catch up with Jankos after G2's tiebreaker loss.
Thank you very much, guys. Laure here, and joining me now is Jankos. Explain to me, how do you get smashed by Griffin when you smashed them in the first round robin twice?
Well, I think first of all, me and Mickey played like really poorly. I feel like jungle and support were like kind of they were just playing much better, right? Tarzan and Legends. But I also feel like we made a lot of mistakes on the map. And normally, what was the biggest swing in both games is that when they lane swap, we face check something, and then out of that they would get like 2 kills or 3 kills and Herald and everything. So I feel like overall they played a much better macro game, and they were just like smarter on the map. But at the same time, we didn't really play into our hands when it comes to draft. I feel like we were like kind of uncomfortable with some of them. So I think even though we lost and we got like outperformed, especially mid support, jungle support, I think we can pick up the slack and still do good in quarterfinals.
What did Grab say to you about these games that you played?
I mean, nothing much, honestly. We were just talking as a team, right? And we just discussed what should we work on for next week. I mean, we are still, we didn't really drop out, right? We are still here. We are still playing quarters. And even though we lost, it doesn't really mean that we will not win the World. So I think I'm still feeling pretty confident going further and playing against whoever we match. And hopefully it's not SKT, but if it is, then yeah, just play against whoever. And if we play the same way, we will lose anyway, right?
You know what, let's say that you just didn't want to face Splice in quarterfinals. That makes more sense for us. But now, as a EU fan, should we be worried about you, or is it only fixable mistakes?
I mean, we should for sure not be too worried, right? I mean, teams lose and then they can like win after. For example, IG that won Worlds last year, they were also second seed in group. So I think for sure quarters are going to be hard, no matter who do we face. Hopefully it's team from Group D. But honestly, I feel like, yeah, we just have to play better, you know. And we got kind of exposed, you could say, because not a lot of teams so far have punished us so hard, jungle support, how we face check and how we play on vision. But it's a good learning experience, and we can take stuff from that. So, happens.
Well, you say Group D. Who do you have in mind in particular?
I mean, I don't think that any team in Group D is like super strong, right? I think we could probably take all of them on, and I'm not saying we would win or stomp them, right? Because after today, obviously, we don't look as strong in people's eyes, especially. But I feel like the tournament favorites is still SKT, especially after today. So facing them would be the toughest, but facing anyone else is doable.
Well, you have a few days to rest now, so I wish you good luck for next week. We'll see you soon, and back to you guys.
Thank you very much. Quite a candid interview from Janko saying, yeah, we did get exposed. He's not mincing words there. But, you know, that is just the reality of it. If you're not first seed, you do run into the possibility of facing an SKT in finals. But he also says, if we're not good enough, then we wouldn't beat them. And that's just what it is.
And I think that's the biggest takeaway from all these G2 interviews, right? The willingness to say, you know what, this is our game. When we play at our best, we will beat teams. If we don't, we won't. So I think that gives them a lot of confidence internally.
What I also love is besides G2 and the SKT, there are so many teams that look much better than a lot of people expected. And there are plenty of tournament favorites to talk about, hopefully even more after the next 2 days. But I did want to take a minute to look at some individual performances. And after 2 days of the second round robin, it is time to hand out some well-earned honors. Let's start with Tilt Proof, and that goes to Splice's Visit Chachi.
And let's be very frank here. Before Chachi's performance at group stage during play-ins, it was Splice that was going to get Tilt Proof because they were playing with Chachi. He was just having a terrible tournament. He couldn't pick it up, couldn't pick it around, but all of that changed in groups. This guy went from 0 to hero. He stood up very tall on things like the Cho'Gath, and he helped carry Splice over the line.
And when you look at how much attention the top laner of Spice has received from other teams, the consistent bans, the counter picks that are being thrown his way, it is so impressive that after all these years of trying to make Worlds, Chachi has stayed strong and is now having a terrific performance.
And I think this is going to be the tournament of weak side top laners. All the focus about carry tops, and this time around we're getting to see the Ornn in action, his Cho'Gath that was monstrous. It's going to be fun to see him in team fights.
It definitely will be, and from a player who gets camped to a player who camps, all his laners give Tarzan a GG heart. Man, did he play his heart out yesterday.
And I've been hearing so many whispers about Tarzan, so it was awesome to finally see them come to fruition and to see him perform on an international stage. Now, I do want to put a bit of a spotlight on how his jungling is different from other junglers of the tournament. He focuses a lot more on taking his Gromp and Wolf camps rather than the Raptors and Krugs, because it's more about how he's plugging into his laners and how he's helping them expand their leads rather than just hard farming his own.
And that's the beauty of it all, especially when they went up against G2 twice in a row. That was just beautiful setup that started with Tarzan, went to Lehens. They worked as a unit, and it started with him.
Great performance by him. Last honor is going as the good shot calling one, and it goes to the entire FPX team with the ultimate setup for Doinb's Malphite. Fantastic stuff from them.
You gotta love it, because what makes FPX special is their team coordination, their team fighting. That's what they focus on the most, and that's what they worked on when they dropped the first game versus JT. So being able to see this, the Malphite coming through clutch from Doinb, how they plug into it beautifully. This is great to see, and I want to see it going forward.
But just a little bit of disrespect. How dare you pick Kled mid into Doinb?
Don't do that.
He's not going to have the counter pick ready. This is a guy that pioneered it. And I think that FPX, they play around their unique mid laner so well. And this is a team that will rely on him to go further at Worlds.
Those are the honors. Also, a little GG heart for all my Castro colleagues and the fans in the arena the last days. You have all been awesome as well. But ahead of the group stage, we also had high expectations for some key players, particularly their performance on the Rift, and we want to check in with some of them. Starting with the unkillable Demonkin Faker. He was #1 on Jat and Vedius' top 20s list in terms of expectations at Worlds, and up until now, he's living up to them.
Yeah, where you out, Reddit? I saw Faker go out #1. People like, but what about Chovy? What about Showmaker? What about Tarzan? There were so many other names being put on this list, but Faker stood tall and he silenced everyone. He said, no, the king isn't back, the god is back.
And it's so impressive that after all these years, he's been able to teach himself new tricks. This is Faker that has been a god of League of Legends, since 2013. But now he comes out with a Tristana, a Twist of Fate, as well as an Akali. So many looks for the best player in the world.
You see that on your screen. You see the neck pop from Faker. If you haven't seen a lot of League of Legends, that's a signature move. When the neck stretch comes through, it's about to get very real.
Yeah, and in this game, he made the winning call as well. So not only is individually he just a god, he's like apparently one of the smartest players and sees windows that other people do not.
Yeah, it's sometimes hard to describe it. I think maybe one of the best ways is he's such a complete player.
Yeah, because remember, recency matters. He's been doing this since playoffs in the LCK. Solo killing Showmaker, of course, people saying the best laner. It's just that when it comes time for the highest moments, when the spotlight shines, he performs.
Another mid laner I want to talk about who we just touched on is Doinb, because we were all so excited to finally see him play at Worlds, and maybe it took a little bit, but he really took off and has been doing so well for FPX.
When FPX succeeds, it's because Doinb is succeeding. A lot of the times, Tien plays through him, and when you saw them stomping game Group B, it was because he had the most control in the mid lane and was letting it rain on the other side of the map.
It's the conversation between the best player and Faker and the most valuable player and Doinb. FPX are not a team without him. He is their core, their identity. You take him out of it and you don't have that winning formula.
And I think that the fact that Doinb has been able to carry at this tournament, a tournament where there are so many impressive mid laners and he has stepped up individually, Raz, is going to give him so much confidence in all of his gameplay.
Yeah, he's super carry Doinb for a reason. And I think a lot of people will look at the mechanics and criticize because he focuses more so on his team play. But he's in the LPL, damn it! Best mid lane pool in the world. And so I love the fact that when he goes up against when he goes up against CA, that he's able to provide what he needs.
Yeah, it's all good.
Let it slide.
They were just throwing a bit of flack your way because of the LCK, but hey, Doinb, fantastic player. Finally, a player that is a bit more controversial to talk about, who was put very highly and ranked quite highly from a lot of EU analysts coming in, Hylissang. But what have we seen from him so far?
Well, when I think about prime Hylissang, I think about those series last year versus IG when Reckless was 1v2 bottom lane and Hylissang was winning the rest of the map. However, I don't hate the Garen Yumi. I think he's had some terrific performances on that, and he has been targeted by other teams. He would have loved to have been Pyke in that Blitzcrank game, but Hilly today is going to have to step it up. He's going to have to take it back to that throwback performance from 2018 Worlds if his team has any chance of getting out of this.
When you take a look at Fnatic, it's about recognizing what the responsibility of each of the individual players is to the team's success. And frankly, their current drafts, while quite practice for them, aren't giving them that responsibility. You need Hilly to be unlocked on those roamers. You need him to be pairing up with Broxa to hard win these early games. And you need Whippo on something other than Shen.
Yeah, it's funny because to point about the draft one, I think the one that hits the identity the most of what they want to accomplish was his Blitzcrank draft. But of course, it just didn't work going up against the enemy squad.
Yeah, we'll see what they come out with today. And today, Hylissang and Fnatic, they have a long road ahead of them. But in 2017, the EU powerhouse pulled off a miracle run for the history books.
Reckless. Now what are the Necklace they're going? Do they have the damage output? The hits are coming in. Is it going to be the game? Fnatic. again. Say it, show it a big hype, but the Nexus is open. No way, makes his way back in, but he's not gonna do it. Captain finds a clutch play, and Fnatic do the unthinkable and make their way to the quarterfinals. So close, Optimus forced the shockwave, the wave has to go in, and there it is.
Ecstatic. What a story. 0-4. Remember, they were 0-3 last week, and they lost the first game of week 2. But from there, win 4 games in a row.
Well, I love that we played this video, but they call it Miracle Run for a reason. And I think as if you're an EU fan, you need that kind of a boost to remember that these things can happen. But then I think we have to come back down to earth and look at the situation that Fnatic is in now, in a group with such a high-performing SKT and RNG.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, when you have a look at it, you're going up against RNG, SKT, when in the past it was GAM and Immortals that you were trying to beat out for that spot. So I think definitely a tougher run. And it's nice to remember those times, right? Because it just makes you realize, like, the fact that it is possible that you can do it. However, today, I'm not that confident.
It's difficult. So let's start with Fnatic and go down the line of all the teams and what they need to do in this group today. We talked a lot about them already, touched on Hylissang, but I do want to talk about the bot lane champ pool in general for Fnatic and the style that they've shown coming out of draft.
So here's the thing. These are champions that we've seen from Fnatic. We've seen the strategy. But I think that when Fnatic are most successful, it's not when they're going towards the things like the Garen Yuumi. It's about playing a weak side, 80 carry, mage, marksman, whatever you want to call it, reckless on the Karma, reckless on the Garen, but allowing Hilly to unlock himself from the lane and start impacting the map. They play high-octane League of Legends, and Fnatic felt very slow at this tournament.
And that's what I was going to say. One of these bottom lanes is not like the other one. You know, the Garen Yuumi, we're saying maybe stylistically doesn't fit this comp, but the Morgana Blitzcrank certainly is more of what we would expect to see. And they did give it a really good shake in that matchup versus RNG.
Yeah, I think that one was the draft where I was a little bit critical on it, because a lot of the times Western teams in international events, when they go up against RNG, they try and find a way to not play into the bottom lane strategy that RNG has. But in the LPL, it doesn't matter if the enemy bottom lane has a 10 CS deficit going up against Uzi. You can still outplay them in a lot of team coordination aspect, team fights. They're not the champions in the LPL summer for a reason. And so I think there shouldn't be an intimidating factor when you're going up against them.
Just to double down on that, I actually think you have to play that 2v2 through Uzi if you want to try to break him. I understand that you can try to hide some lane weaknesses by grabbing things like the Syndra, like the Veigar, but if you go all the way back to MSI, when RNG were champions, they won that tournament. It was double-lift grabbing the Caitlyn and Team Liquid being able to go toe-to-toe in that 2v2. I think you have to do it.
But if you're going to throw the gauntlet, you need your jungler to step up because you need protection. You've got Caster on the other side of Summoner's Rift, and this time around it's going to be Broxah as my player to watch all day, because so much of Fnatic's success, in my opinion, was Broxah and Hilly's ability to protect their solo lanes until they got into their 1-3-1, and then they were a very good 3-man unit. I think that he needs to help out Nemesis in particular today. Nemesis in a side lane is much different than Nemesis than we've seen in this tournament so far.
We need Fnatic to show up today if they want a chance in hell to make it to the next round, because 2 formidable teams are with them in this group, starting off with SKT. We talked about Faker already, but when you look across...
Yeah, clear as day in this image. Clid is amazing. And I know, Spawn, you think that he is the best jungler in the tournament. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Clid right now is the best jungler in the world.
Are you under oath?
Yeah, I will go out on a limb and say this. Like, I think that even since MSI, Clid has been performing at another level. And when you have a look at the fact that he's revitalized and rebuilt Faker in the early game, it really does give Bjergsen fans hope that there might be a jungler out there for everyone in League of Legends.
Did you just say that Clid has rebuilt Faker in the early game?
The nice dating app.
I'm just going to throw this out. We've seen a lot of footage of Clid with different mid laners in the LPL. He did not look as good as he looks with Faker. And I understand that SKT have this reputation that you just pump junglers in there, they make them cookie cutter printouts of wards, and then they scatter them around the map. But I think that Faker has made Clid what he is today.
You know what it's like to be in love, Frost. You bring the best out of each other in a great relationship. And I think that's what we have on stage.
For sure.
Or
you know?
that's instinct.
Better
oh my God. But I think once again they make each other whole. Like, the one is the aggressive jungler that'll pull you in and say, no, you got to commit to this relationship.
So much love. And you know, in danger of sounding cheesy, the love for League of Legends is definitely big in this group, because when you think about an SKT on form, that storyline and the level that those players can hit, you're already very excited for the day. Add to that an RNG who should now be started to, or be inserted into that conversation for possible tournament favorites as well.
I think if we're playing just standard League of Legends, it is just skill checks on traditional marksmen, on traditional mages, the 1v1s. I think RNG are the best standard League of Legends team at the tournament. The problem is that this meta has opened up a lot more, and I'm still waiting for that final cherry on top for RNG to find the diversity needed to go to the next level.
And if you see these replays, it's exactly that. Longsing being able to take these team fights by storm in his Renekton play, and beautifully kiting back a lot of those ultimate resources and then having that Mega Gnar ultimate. So they have a lot of star power in that lineup.
And whilst we haven't seen the creativity yet, we have seen the versatility because they have started to visit other areas of the map apart from bottom lane. Xiao, who's getting game. Longsing also had a carry performance as well. This is a team that has shown different looks so far at Worlds.
RNG looking very well-rounded. Finally, Clutch, of course, they don't have any wins yet, and it's going to be incredibly hard for them to advance, but we can't count them out. You never can in group stages like this. What do you want to see from Clutch if they want to pull off the miracle?
I want to see them continue to play their style, just fast and loose, get the top side of the map rolling. It is against the trend of the current tournament, and I think that if any team can throw a spanner in the works, it is Clutch, because they do play away from how the rest of the teams in this tournament want to play the game.
I think it's a situation where if you've got Fnatic, SKT, and RNG in front of you, no one's really going to be looking at Clutch, and this is the perfect recipe for them to pull a Vitality, a Cloud9, a Clutch Gaming, whatever you want to call it, and really mess people up.
And I just want to see more creativity in Vulcan. He's a special player, the Bard, the Thresh. I want to see him have that action early on in these games.
We'll see. And just to be clear, both Fnatic and Clutch are going to have to pull off a miracle. And it's SKT and RNG that are pulling ahead in this group. And for the teams in Group C, today is make or break. And this is how things will play out. Can you tell me one crazy scenario if you look at the order of these games? How do a Clutch or Fnatic make it?
Okay, so you need SKT to continue to win, and then you need to start generating upsets from the get-go. The nightmare scenario for Clutch and Fnatic is actually if RNG beat SKT straight up, because 3 wins is so hard to get towards.
And I think for Fnatic, this is a pretty good setup for them, going up against Clutch to have a worn-up game. Look, they may get upset in that situation as well, but at least if they go into SKT, they won't have the idea that, you know, they're not ready for that matchup. I think they're certainly prepared for it.
You just need one good day.
There
Just need one good day, but it's going to have to be a very good day. And our first game is that Clash of Titans, SKT versus RNG, the two frontrunners in the group, which feels like the fight for first already. When they played the first time in the first round robin, it was one of the best games of the tournament.
And it had a lot of factors in it for kind of being that beautiful League of Legends, because it wasn't just one team playing poorly and one team playing well, it was both teams playing well, and that's what you want to see.
And I remember Jab making the point just yesterday, I mean, there is no perfect team in League of Legends, and in this game, this matchup, it was fun, but it was messy, of course, and you can see the holes in SKT when they were playing into the teamfight aspect. So finally, they played to their 1-3-1 composition and put RNG away. It's nice to see that SKT still has that hypiness to them.
And while SKT did kind of bait into trying to teamfight RNG a couple of times when they could have played the map with their superior globals, on RNG's side, they were trying to problem solve the first pick Renekton. They went for the Mordekaiser, it didn't work out, they lost complete side lane control, and I think there's another opportunity to take a run at this draft and maybe not gamble it all on a Mordekaiser. If that's something else that can stand out in the side lane, SKT can't win the same way twice.
And as a fan, I just love watching these two teams play. You know, when you got Faker versus Uzi, two conflicting styles, the 1-3-1 comp with 3 teleports versus the front-to-back team fighting comp and combat summoners everywhere, it really is a joy to see the conflicting styles come to Summoner's Rift.
Yeah, and I think at the end of the day, this is the first event that I would look at and see that there's multiple super teams in ARMS. And whenever you have a team with multiple star talent, then you get players looking for outplays when you can just play to your comp. So it makes games a lot more interesting. That's
they push their limits, and I think that's also what we're going to see in this game. Of course, we talk about Faker and Uzi, but I also want to put the spotlight on the jungle matchup. I heard the words, best jungler in the world, Clid versus Karsa.
Wait,
what do you think?
Attach a name to that. That was Spawn.
There you go.
Clid.
Okay, I've seen this tale in the LPL, and it didn't end well for Clid. Karsa did get the better of him when they played domestically. I know it's it's a different animal. Faker plus Clid is better than Xiaohu plus Karsa, but I still have so much faith in Karsa's style.
And the two conflicting Lee Sin players. You have the rampant early game Lee Sin and Clid versus maybe the best team fighting Lee Sin in Karsa. This guy just finds kicks where it does not look like kicks exist, Raz.
And it's just the ultimate form of balance where Karsa's coming in and calming down his team while still being able to have those beautiful kicks. You gotta love those. While Clid is just trying to make this team work in Season 9 League of Legends where you just have to be active and out on the map.
Yeah, and I mean, he has some flashy moves of his own himself.
true.
We can't deny that. So, with this matchup, which is so important for possibly that battle for first place, what are the win conditions for RNG if they want to take it?
For
Raz?
me, I think I want to echo the point that Frosk has made earlier on.
Me?
The best standard League of Legends team coming into the tournament. So I would just want to see Karsa play from mid to bot. Their 2v2 mid is excellent alongside Xiaohu. Regardless if they have priority on the bot side of the map, Uzi and Ming will make magic happen. So get mid lane rolling, find yourself to the bot side of the map, and then 30 minutes into the game, team fights. Best team fighting team in the tournament, play to that.
I'm really glad that you set that up.
But it says prioritize early picks. What's up with the
Well,
mid
you
game?
got to prioritize the early picks specifically from mid and jungle. I have a lot of faith in the team when they're going into team fights later on, but find that early advantage when you're going up against SKT.
Definitely.
And I got
Frosk.
the honor of doing SKT's win conditions, and I'm glad that you bring up team fighting because I need SKT to bring team fight tools. They tried to do it in the 1-3-1. Occasionally, they got the better of them. Some sick casks from the Gragas right there, but just make sure that if you're against RNG and it all starts breaking down, you have to be ready to go in those 5v5s. And then the second point is, LPL teams and RNG don't like to take too many globals. They don't run as many teleports. That's why Shin has always kind of been a thorn in the side when you meet an LPL team. So make sure that you have a side lane insurance policy. If that's a hyperscaler, that's the ability to play 1-3-1, because you can play the map better than RNG can play grabbing those team fights.
Yes.
And RNG historically has been a team that you can bait into fighting before they're ready to fight. So I do feel like the early game picks in the mid jungle will be very important because if you have Faker on something that is a little bit more early game focused, we've already seen the Tristana, you can bait Xiaohu and Karsa into taking those 2v2, 3v3s.
Even being more specific to the picks, I think that Xiaohu is an incredible Syndra player, and I know that it's been hitting the bench quite a few times. I think in this group we won't be seeing many AP bot side at all. I think maybe we're going to be seeing it from Fnatic, but I just want to see Xiaohu, Syndra on the map.
Raz, he's going to be playing Karma. I hate to break it to you. He's probably going to be playing
What
Karma.
was crazy is the last time that they faced, Syndra fell through the entire ban
draft.
phase. She wasn't even touched at all, and I agree with you. He's one of the best Syndra players in the world.
Yeah, it was a TF Zoe one the first time around. So with that all in mind, and still some lanes we didn't touch on just because the sheer amount of talent on these lineups. What are your predictions, Raz? I'm going to guess it's RNG.
Sadly, I'm going to have to give it to the SKT. Look, as usually I would come out and say I have all the faith in RNG being able to play to SKT's playstyle pound for pound. I think that SKT is the smarter team, can play around the map far more effectively. So while I made the convincing case of what RNG should do to win the game, we already saw what game 1 looked like. They will be able to play the map against RNG.
Fair enough, Spawn.
I think game 1 was closer than people think. However, I too am going to vote for SKT. Mr. Splice has already ruined a day of my predictions. I've fallen off the top of the castle. I need to climb my way back up. That means taking smart bets. SKT gets better as group stages go on. They won the first time. There is no reason to doubt the fact that this team can win the second time around.
Save us, Frost.
Where is your guys' allegiance? You have betrayed the LPL. I am actually going for RNG because I agree with Spawn. I think it was much closer than people make out. I think that they were drafting errors that could be shored up. And number 1, taking more hard engage tools. When your only hard engage really is that Blitzcrank and a Zoe, like skill shot based hard engage, you can't force those team fights. I think we're going to see something like a blind pick Gnar or a blind pick Kennen, and it's going to be much easier to find those fights.
What do the fans have? Are they going to even it out? That's my question.
SKT.
There we go.
Usually is from the fans, but I love it. It is such a hype matchup for the group, and I think this may be the best game we see in the entire group stage.
We hope
if
so.
Both teams play to their levels. Group C was named the group of death for a reason, and today we'll find out who makes it out alive.